Do you know this? Do you know this? It's a novel and then made into film. And it's a perfect example of the game it's a game of baseball, which is appropriate. But there's a game in here called Tag of War. I think you can use this now. And it's a card game. And let's say it's a pagan card game. And there are no rules. Well, the rule is there are no rules. And you make up the rules. And you can change them immediately in the game. And the person who wants to change them and says, well, this is rule, and has to give it a name. The new rule, a name of some kind of it. That's going to be unnamed later. Okay? And has to give a reason or something for that's compelling and persuasive for everyone to go along with the rule. And there's a great deal. And so they play this game. And it's the major, let's say, metaphor, or I would rather say configuration, that is constantly changing, that holds the entire film together with all of its various themes, one of which is death. Okay? Because this young man, De Niro, playing in a minor league team, and in the opening, I'm not going to ruin this for you, but we'll take a look at the opening because the game is played. With his dad present and so on, after he finds out that he's got a serious medical problem and will not outlive it. And they begin to play the game there. His dad is totally mystified, different generation, and doesn't know how this kind of thing works. But every now and then in the film, you know, they play cards. They're on the road, right? And they play this card game. And the game becomes appropriated in lots of different ways, good, bad, so on, okay? Since it's not fixed, okay? But the worst nightmare is for the game to be fixed, according to Lyotard. Lyotard does not refer to this, okay? But it is the best example that I can find of what he's talking about when he says, let's be pagan. And to be pagan is to work, to live one's life, and to think, to read, to write, to shit, whatever, without any criteria whatsoever. And you sort of make them up as you go along. And they are as good as they are if they work for you and others. Okay? And if not, then there's the impulse to change the rules. So that's what is called prescription as opposed to description. Okay, before we get into all that, I just want to know some more about you so that, you know, I can be helpful if that's possible. I mean, I have this sheet with your names, okay? Then I'll tell you about me after I hear about you, okay? What I'm willing to disclose. So there's Gretchen is first, and she's an MA student, artist, and gallery owner at Tacoma, Washington. And this is good. This is the information that I need. Okay? But what are your interests, academic interests, your intellectual interests, your emotional interests, whatever, in terms of if you're going to write an MA thesis, you know, what's your issue, what you're working with, and so on?
Well, for my MA, I'm going to do a photo project.
Mm-hmm.
That's I'm writing it as a film. It's as a film. There's just almost a script, but it's all still images.
Okay.
And so this year I kind of have the idea of what I'm going to do, but then I have to write about it. And so that's sort of to think about that in advance. It's sort of contrary to how I usually work. So it's a new experience to try to fit the material. So I'm kind of trying to fit the material that we're getting and a direction for that thinking into this work at the same time without sort of killing the sort of undefinable flow of
The relationship between photos or photography and film, cinema, or some of the most interesting ones. I mean, Roland Barthes obviously spends a lot of time writing and thinking about them. And there are some films based on that address a photograph.
Mm-hmm.
And the one, when you mentioned that, the first that came to my mind is Godard's letter to Jane.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know this one?
I've seen it.
Yeah, and it's a discussion between Godard and, I forget who else, does someone remember, about this photograph that was taken of Jane Fonda in Vietnam during the war. And a kind of break between Godard and Jane Fonda. But one of these critiques, which is, I'm going to slap the shit out of you, but I love you, is, you know, kind of double bind that critique can put people in, okay? The spin-offs were not necessarily for that. She had made a film with All Is Well, I think it's the English translation of it. It's one of his perhaps most experimental films. And in it there's a scene of the dim stockings ads that Giorgio Agamben writes about in The Coming Community. Have you read that particular work? He has a section in there on dim stockings and their impact. Anyway, there are other films as well. I'm sorry, this is what I do. I sort of drift, you know. Free associate. What else do you want? Lyotard, I'm going to talk about him in the present as if he's still alive. Okay. It's just a habit. As I said, and as you probably know, is very interested in aesthetics, which is a word which a lot of people shy away from, but that's, you know, generically the one that is used. But very specifically interested in avant-garde art. Okay? And it really comes out big time in the different towards the latter section of it, when he talks about the pagas and the pagini, okay, those pagans who live on the border, okay, and experiment, and he has a list of names of whom he's referring to. So that might be of great help, okay. But the game that he's thinking of, which he refers to as postmodernism, among other things, is a game of paganism. One makes it up as one goes along. Okay. But let's move on now, because I do want to make a few comments about a few things which tend to be problematic when talking about Lyotard. Yeah, let me just insert this.
Sure.
About that, and I'm speaking to everyone and to myself, reminding myself, that there are many different vocabularies, and part of the trick of being able to play the game is to be able to hop from one vocabulary to the next. And in philosophy, the term that you often hear is contradiction. It's, you know, the three, among others, but major principles of philosophy are identity, non-contradiction, and excluded middle, or excluded third. They're all pretty much the same thing. They all support each other. Okay? But what other words in other vocabularies resonate with the word contradiction? In psychoanalysis, it's ambivalence. Okay. Very different thing. I mean, I've seen people talk to someone and say, you're contradicting yourself. Let me tell you, you're contradicting yourself. And, you know, a person just sits there and says, well, thank you, but I think I just have ambivalent feelings here. You know, can you imagine an analyst saying, stop contradicting yourself? It's beside the point. Okay? It has nothing to do with it. Another term would be paradox, which philosophers do use, okay? But it is very, very different. I think you used it. Paradoxical situation which you can live in very, very productively. Okay? And that if you were to try to resolve it and get rid of the other half, you would not survive very long. In fact, you'd probably go crazy. And bifurcation in the sciences and so on. So you can just pick that one word, contradiction, and try to figure out what the other words are. Okay. Out of Nietzsche and out of Kenneth Berg, that's a way of living a healthy and healthful life, okay? Doing something like that. And not getting pinned down. And that's playing the game, let's be paid.